Boatbuilding News, the podcast. Let's do it. Welcome to Boatbuilding News, the podcast, a series of engaging interviews with key individuals from within the marine industry. I'm excited. This is going to be epic. I'm addicted to speaking to Bill. I hope you love this episode as much as I did. Hi, Bill. Welcome to the Boatbuilding News podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I'm really, really excited. Ever since I first met you in Fort Lauderdale, I just thought, wow, what a character. I want to talk to you more. So I'm so excited we're doing this, and I'm so excited we're doing it recorded as well.
Me too. Absolutely. This is a pleasure. I love it.
So, Bill, start us off by introducing yourself. Tell us who you are, and what is it that you do in the industry?
Yeah, okay. So my name is Bill Springer. I'm a senior contributor at Forbes magazine. I write about super yachts and luxury travel and luxury products. I have a really hard job. It's difficult. It's arduous. The hours are horrible. The people are just the worst. I get to go to all the worst places in the world. Yeah, I'm very lucky and I feel very grateful to have the job that I have, where I'm kind of in that sort of super yacht world. I also write for all the shipyard magazines and quite a few luxury magazines as well. And I'm also starting to do a little bit more video, which is kind of fun. I'm kind of diversifying. I love to write, and writing is something that I feel is important. And I'd like to think that because I'm so old, I learned how to write before social media. I understand the value of good writing, but I also kind of understand the world that we live in, and I love the idea of kind of talking to the camera and doing social media stuff too. So that's basically
you've got the
it.
best of both worlds then.
Yeah. So I'm a Gen Xer. So my first job was at Sail magazine in 1995. And I was terrified. I didn't know how to send a fax. Like faxes were high tech. I had just come off a sailboat. I worked on sailboats for 3 years, and I realized that I needed to do something besides just sail around. I was compelled to sort of I wanted to build a life for myself, and I went back to Boston where I grew up, and I got my big break. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I was a bit of a caveman when I got out of college. I didn't want to have a job. I didn't want to have like work for the man. I wanted to have adventures. And I did. I skied and I sailed and I didn't have any money. But at the end of that time, when I didn't have any money and I didn't have any sort of accomplishments or anything except for, a nice tan, I realized that I wanted to do something else. So I'm very lucky because I ended up at Sail magazine right before the internet sort of happened. So I learned about what it means to be a professional, what it means to be a writer, how to write, how to sort of schmooze with people. Like, I mean, just everything. My entire professional career started at Sail magazine. And so from there, I learned how to write and then learned how to travel and then learned about boats. And then it's just kind of the rest is history.
Sure. So actually, you were a writer before you were involved in the marine industry, not the other way around. You weren't in the marine industry
No, a
prior
little
to
bit of both. I
writing?
mean, I studied English in college. I went to the University of Colorado, which is about 1,000 miles away from the ocean. But the skiing is amazing, and skiing is actually my first love. And I went to college to ski and to party. I didn't really know that you went to college to sort of prepare for a professional world.
I don't think you do, really. I think people just pretend they do.
Yeah, exactly. I eventually realized that. So I did study English. I hated the journalism. I took one journalism class, and it was a big 500-person class. And the teacher in the front of this big sort of lecture hall said, "Well, now look around, everyone. Only one or two of you are actually going to end up being real journalists because it's such a competitive field and blah, 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 blah." And I knew that I was not the two brightest stars in that class. So now looking back and seeing, so I hated journalism, but I did study English and I learned how to think and I learned how to write that way. And now here I am. I learned most honestly as a professional journalist, I've learned everything on the job, like learned how to write a news story, learned how to write a feature story, learned how to interview people. Everything has happened by trial and error, and I've made every mistake in the book, but that's okay. That's how
Yeah.
we learn.
And if you're gonna be a writer, like you couldn't have picked a more exciting space to be writing. I mean,
Well,
is
it
that
wasn't
by
even I
chance
picked
or
it.
did you aim for that?
Yeah, no, I didn't pick it. I didn't pick it. I mean, my whole motivation was to sail away from my problems. When I got out of college, I thought I had all these problems, and I wanted to
I've
go have
heard some
adventures. Like,
motivational quotes before, but staying away from my problems is not one of the
exactly.
top ones, I don't think.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't work. You can't sail away from your problems. Obviously, a little newsflash. However, I did learn how to. But I did want to have adventures. Like, I wanted to have adventures. I wanted to live life like a romantic, as opposed to, oh, you go to school and you get a GPA, and then you get a good job, and then you get a house and a car payment. Like, I just wanted to have a little bit more excitement and adventure, and was willing to sort of take the risk. I mean, because everyone was like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I honestly didn't know, but I was doing what I was compelled to do. Like, I was compelled to go on these adventures, and here I am now, where I have a very stable, relatively stable job. I mean, I'm relatively well respected. I mean, all these sort of things that comes from professional accomplishments, but
Yeah.
I've been able to sort of incorporate the adventure into it too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're always on an adventure. I can't remember the last time. I mean, for someone who's traditionally a writer in print form, you're pretty prolific on social media and you look like you were on one big adventure. Is it really like that? Or are you just showing us the highlights? Or is it really
Yeah,
like
it is really like that. I mean, not every time, honestly, but and I will kind of repurpose some sort of images over the course of a year. But usually, because I'm getting invited to do all these amazing things, usually it's sort of this is the arc of where I'm at these days. Last week or a couple of days ago, I was in Amsterdam. I did a day trip to Amsterdam from Boston.
is that
You know,
possible?
yeah, yeah. I flew the overnight flight,
Yeah.
and then I got into the cab, and I went to we're doing a video at Ocean Co. And
Okay.
so I arrived at 8 a.m., was in the cab, was on camera talking to 15 kids at the Ocean Coast shipyard at 10:30. Like,
Wow.
just like kind of rock star in a way,
Yeah.
um, which was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talked to the kid. We've got a whole sort of cool, little coming attractions, like that's coming from Ocean Co. You heard it here first, folks.
Breaking
But
news.
yeah, so filmed with the kids, and then debriefed after the filming. Had some dinner, went to bed early because I hadn't really slept on the plane. I hadn't really slept. 6-hour time change, and then went back to the airport the next day. You
Do you
know?
know what? I might just ring Ocean Co and say I'm a lot closer. They could have just asked
No,
me.
no, 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 no.
It
or
took you 8 hours
or
to get
maybe
there.
you should. Maybe you
Thank
should.
you. No, but
Yeah, and then before that, I mean, we went to this. I got invited to the Ferretti Christmas party,
I've heard
and
about this, and this is
the Ferretti
unreal.
Christmas party is not your average Christmas party. Let me tell you.
No.
So it's black tie in
Okay.
Venice, at the Teatro de la Felice, which is where Italian opera in Venice basically started,
Right.
and Elton John played. And so, like, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I was able to bring my wife and my son, and it was really special. I mean, being old, I mean, I grew up with Elton John songs in the background, and then to see this
Yeah.
guy with such talent in
Yeah.
such an intimate place was really pretty special.
It's
So
just mind blowing
yeah,
that those opportunities are there. Like
yeah, I know, yeah.
I'd welcome them, honestly. If anyone wants to, if Ferretti or Ocean Co want me, I've got a few spare seats going.
Stick with me,
I'm there.
Holly. Stick with me. We're going places.
I know. I mean, already, just in giving a brief overview of your journey here, you've already just sort of sprung upon like some things which are like life highlights for most people, but you speak
Yeah.
about them so casually. So actually, you must sometimes just pinch yourself and think, what a cool life I'm living.
You know, you're absolutely right. And it's not just pinch myself, but it's almost like a spiritual thing, with the gratitude that I feel.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, I didn't have enough money to get home from Antigua when I got to the end of my adventure. I didn't
Right.
have enough money to get back to Boston. I ended up somehow, luckily, getting a varnish job where I made like $2 an hour, and I sanded, varnish, sand, varnish for hour after hour, and eventually I made the $200 that I needed to buy the flight home, buy the ticket home. And
Wow.
so for me to
Do you
go
know what?
from
I would have just
that,
stayed in Antigua.
huh?
You could have just stayed in Antigua.
I could have, but I was compelled. I realized, like, I didn't want to just sort of work as as a crew. Like, there was
Mm,
something inside of me that was propelling me to say no. I wanted to. It was funny, actually. I had an image in my mind of a couple of things. One,
okay.
sitting in front of my fireplace in my home, right? So I imagined myself having a home and having a fireplace.
Oh, right. So you
But
didn't
more
have
than
that
that,
home and that fireplace at the time. You were just imagining this
no, I didn't
hypothetical.
have enough money. I didn't
Okay.
have enough money for a
No, you
plane
didn't have
ticket. You
anything.
know what I
Right.
mean? But I was just like, I almost had this like vision of where I was going, or where I was headed, or where I wanted to go. And so there was that fireplace image. But even more so than this, it was the image of a woman, actually. A beautiful woman with
Hmm.
high heels and red
Okay.
lipstick and really
I
white
don't know if we should
skin.
go any further.
No, because you don't see
Will I
that
need
type
to
of a
put a
woman in
warning on this
Antigua. You,
episode?
you don't see that kind of a woman in Antigua. You know what I mean?
No, you
I had this
don't.
picture of a woman like walking down the street in New York with very white skin because she never goes out in the sun. And so to go from that to basically being in the wearing the tuxedo at the party with the woman that has the red lipstick, it's kind of amazing. So I'm never lost. It's never lost to me the gratitude that I feel for where I'm at. I mean, I know
Okay.
that.
So have you got that?
Um,
Have you got the fireplace in your house now?
of course I do.
Have
Yes.
you got the beautiful woman that wears red lipstick?
Yes. Yes.
You
I know,
complete
right?
it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I even have the wood, so part of my winter joy is cutting and splitting all the wood too. So
Right.
it's perfect. But at the same time, I get to actually go off and be on the boats all the time. So I get that
Yeah.
fix. If I was just home without having the trips, I would go crazy.
So how do you plan your content and the next trip that you're going on? Is it planned for you? Are you invited, or do you go out and seek that next opportunity?
Mostly it's I'm invited, or I mean, because I've just been in the industry for so long and I know so many people, and friends. I mean, honestly, like, I'm really close friends with the people in the industry. I love the people in the industry. So there's always ideas bouncing around. There's always like, wouldn't this be cool or wouldn't that be cool? So I'll either come up with ideas and pitch it to some of my friends, or they'll say, oh, this would be, what do you think about this? Do you want to do that? That sort of thing. I don't really plan too much. I am kind of always working on a million stories, and I've
Right.
always kind of in the planning stages of a million stories, whether it's just getting the travel sorted out, or talking to the various companies about what they'd be interested in, if this story would be cool, if that story would be cool. It's pretty dynamic. I mean, one of the fun parts of my job is I never
Just one of the fun
know
parts.
what I never know what email, like what kind of invite will come over my email at any
Yeah.
time. Like, I mean, there's been days when I've been having like this horrible day, whatever, stories aren't going right, stuff at home is not right. And then I get this email, hey, do you want to go to Antarctica for 2 weeks? Like, and that changes everything. Sure. I'd love
I
to go to
know. Do you
Antarctica.
know? Do you know what I had? Probably one of my first experience of this, sort of just before Christmas. I mean, by no means do I get it as often or as exciting as you, but I was in my office and it was just like a bog standard, like Tuesday afternoon. We were just getting on with our day jobs, and then an email just popped into my inbox saying, "Hey, do you want to come to Alicante? All expenses paid, to come to a gala dinner, sea trial a boat." And I was just like, yes, I do. And you're absolutely right. I didn't know that was coming. There was no conversation about it. Just bang, there it is in your inbox. And all of a sudden, your next few weeks look a bit different.
Yeah. You got something to look forward to, it's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
it
It's
is
very
cool.
cool.
But I Just getting this image though of you sitting down for your dinner and your wife saying, "Hey, how was your day?" And then you, and then you just coming out with the most bizarre stories about how your
It's
day's
not
been
like
and who
that at
you've
all.
spoken to.
It's not like that at all. We sit down at dinner and she kind of tells me how much she hates me because I'm off doing all these things and she's home. I mean, I'm kidding, but not, like that's what made, because I am off, like Caroline travels, loves to travel as much as I do. And she's a big time executive. So she'd done a lot of business travel all throughout
Yeah,
her career, but with COVID, that's kind of calmed down a little bit. And
yeah,
now it's all Zoom, which is kind of soul crushing.
a little bit.
Um,
Yeah,
when it comes to sort of, all the time. I mean, it's good some of the time, but having a face to face and being able to travel a little bit has been, uh, she misses that. So for her to come with me to some of the things that I've been able to go on, that's been good too. But it's
yeah,
not like, oh, Bill, how's your day? Hope you're having fun. I mean, it was in the beginning, but now it's been so long. Now she
yeah.
just
I
sort of
think
shakes her
you.
head like, oh my God, I can't believe.
Yeah, I mean, not just my other half. Even my kids, I think, have a little bit of disdain for what I do now because I say, "Look, I'm going to work," and they were like, and even at their age, they go, "You're not working. You're at a boat show. Can we stop
Yeah,
calling it work? You're not working.
yeah,
You're on holiday, or it's a mini break." And I'm like, "It's work."
yeah, that's right.
But I don't know who we're trying to convince because it is work. But oh my goodness, what an incredible place and an incredible fun industry we work in. It's so hard
Yeah.
to call it work sometimes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's amazing. I mean, you always seem so smiley, so positive, and so excited. But there must have been times in your career where it's not been plain sailing, excuse the
Oh,
pun,
very much.
and and you've had to go. Now this is a challenge. So talk us through some of the times that aren't as exciting as what you've just described.
Well, I mean, I think, some of the hardest times of my life have been what's propelled me to sort of get into where I am at now. I mean, in a way, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't gotten fired from Sail Magazine after working there for 15 years.
Oh my gosh!
Now, I mean, it's a long story, but the gist of it is, I worked there. I wrote this. I ended up writing the same story over and over and over again because I was the boat test editor. I did a million boat tests, and
Right.
I got really stale and kind of grumpy, and kind of just not in a good place mentally because I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Um, but that in and of itself is what it is. But then the global economic crisis of 2008 happened, and
Right.
that's
Okay.
I mean that's kind of why I got fired. I mean I was I got laid off, whatever. But I mean, I thought because I'd been there for so long and I knew everybody and that I won awards and all that sort of stuff that I was indispensable, and I
Oh
realized I
yeah.
wasn't. And that's a
No.
really painful thing to learn, but a
Yeah, it
really
is.
healthy thing to learn. And I also
100% such a
realized, I
valuable
mean,
thing.
that I needed a break. Like I hated writing, I hated boats, I hated just that sort of small world of sailing. Like just writing about
Yeah,
sailing. I just was like, I'm just sick of it. I need something. I needed something else, but I didn't know what else to do. I mean,
right.
I know how to write about boats, but not much else, which is fine. um, but I had this amazing gift because I was able to take a break from writing, take a break from boats long enough to realize that I missed it. And I missed the
Oh, okay.
writing and I missed the boats and I missed the going on trips and, I missed that sort of part of life. And that was really healthy too because instead of taking it for granted the way that I did before, I was really grateful when
Yeah.
the assignments started coming back and that people wanted me to sort of go off and sort of do what I do again, but in a very different way. I mean, I was just a freelancer. It's you probably know it was hard back then to make a living as a pure freelancer editorially, and it's
Mm.
even harder slash impossible to do it now, just
Yeah.
because of the way the budgets are and all that sort of stuff. So um, that was like a huge slice of humble pie for me, that I'm so grateful to have experienced, even though it was so painful.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the reason why I'm legitimately kind of happy and grateful now, because um, I felt like I'd lost it, or that I wasn't going to be able to do it again. And then not only have I been able to do it again, but being pushed or being nudged into the bigger boats has been really good as a business
Yeah.
move, just simply because there's more action, there's more budget, there's more exciting, fun stuff to do in the bigger boats than there is in the small sailboats.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because so many people who I class as successful in whatever space they're in, whenever I talk to them about bad times, challenges, or anything negative, they instantly reframe it to what did I learn? And the amount of times people say, I'm grateful, if they went back, they wouldn't remove that part of their life, even though we're talking about something negative or something crazy challenging, they wouldn't remove it. It's almost like it's made them what they are. And would they even be what they're doing now without that struggle?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't wish that pain on my worst enemy, because I mean, it was very painful. It was ego deflating, and it was just
Mm.
painful and scary, you know? Um, but I mean, that's kind of, I mean, that's the way it goes, you know? Like, I'm one of those people. I wouldn't trade that. I don't want to feel it again
No,
if I
no,
can avoid it.
definitely
But
not
I
anytime
wouldn't trade
soon.
it either. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So now, professionally, you're known as Bill Springer,
Yes.
but you're also known as Billy Swizzle, which
Oh
I
yeah.
I
Oh wait a
can't
minute. I even
say
got my.
without smiling.
All right now. All right now I'm Billy Swizzle.
Oh my god, it's as simple as changing the glasses. Oh
I
my, I
I
love
just
that.
these. I just happen to have these on my desk.
Oh my goodness, I love this.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of, it's a bit similar because obviously, although I don't change my name, obviously I've the Holly Smith that my friends and family know is so different to Boatbuilding News Holly. It's almost funny, but you know. I can't even say your name, Billy Swizzle, without smiling because it's so fun. So, did you come up with that? Was that because somebody else? Did it just
Totally.
naturally get called
No, no,
that?
no, no.
Talk me
So
through it.
this is actually, it all dovetails into my earlier career. So
Okay.
when I was working at Sail Magazine, I was in a band. And it was like a bad sort of band, you know, like a dad band. I was like in my late 30s, but it was fun. Like, it was totally fun, and it was a creative outlet that I really needed, because I felt really stifled writing the same story over and over again.
Right.
But being in the band was just a total hoot. And I mean, I'm a bit of a show off anyway.
I would
So I
imagine.
said to the guys, "Hey, we're not very good, so let's get dressed up. Let's like wear wigs and sort of, you know, like really embrace the rock star sort of persona."
Yeah.
And they were like, "No, no, no, we're too good for that. We want to, you know, we're gonna make it. We're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna sort of cheapen it by getting it all dressed up." But I did. I couldn't help it. Like, I was
You
like, I
did.
had to. You know what I mean? So I had the wig, I had the sunglasses. And every gig that we played, I would walk into the bar like I was Keith Richards, you know, like just, and everyone would look like, who is this guy with the wig? Because I had like white wig and sunglasses and sequin pants. I'll send you a picture.
Yeah. Well, I don't
So
know, but
anyway,
yeah,
so
okay.
that was before. So then they were like, hey, well, all right, now I'm so old, like let's get a MySpace page. And
And
I was like, okay,
that's a
great.
blast from the past, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
see,
my
I'm not ashamed to say I'm as old as I am. I can't deny it. It's okay. Um, but I didn't want my professional life. I didn't want people to see, like, because I was the well-respected boat test editor. I didn't want them to
right.
see somehow Google. I didn't want my boss to Google and see me being this goofy guy in a band as well. So I had this brilliant idea of like, I'll trick the system. I'll come up with a stage name
A stage name.
to put on the album cover of the band's sort of CD that we were making, you know,
Right.
and go on the MySpace page.
Okay.
So I came up with the idea. I was talking to a colleague at work one day, and we were just playing with names, and I was just like, you know, just Billy and Swizzle and Springer, and it just sort of happened. I think I was, first I was going to be like Billy Swizzle Stick, you know, like kind of James Bond Swizzle Stick, you know, and then shorten it down to Billy Swizzle.
Okay.
And then that's why all my social you know, names are Billy Swizzle, not so I could be anonymous, you know. And then from that, it's just kind of
I
grown.
prefer it.
Yeah, and it's just kind of grown because it's fun, like
Yeah, it is.
Billy Swizzle's like a fun guy to have around. Like, just luxury, fun, a little bit grateful, a little bit, flawed. So there it is.
Oh my gosh, it's actually quite a name unrelated to actually what you use it for now. It's just your fun
Yeah,
social
right.
media
Not many
name now.
people actually remember that was the drummer in the band. Billy Swizzle was the drummer in the band.
Yeah,
Now
what
Billy
happened to the
Swizzle.
band? Did you get any success?
Oh, I got kicked out of the band because I travel too much,
Oh,
which is so rock star as well,
I
right?
know. Did you
It's
trash any
totally rock
hotel
star.
rooms?
Totally rock star. Yeah.
I
And then,
absolutely.
it was like classic sort of behind the music, like band turmoil, fire the drummer, and then it just all imploded.
I love it. I didn't realize that was the story behind the name. I wasn't sure
Yeah,
what the story
it's
was behind
funny.
it, but I do. I love it.
I think a lot of people think that my real name is Billy Swizzle. Maybe I should
Yeah,
change it.
yeah,
I don't know.
100%. Because it's
Yeah,
not that crazy that it wouldn't be somebody's name, but yeah, I know it is.
right.
It's
But
brilliant.
it's a great name. It's
It's a
just a
great
great
name. It's a
name.
really strong name. I love it.
Yeah, you know
So
what? Elton John's original name was like Reginald something. Like just totally. Anyway.
yeah, well, I've given my kids rock star names already. So the
Ah.
responsibility is kind of on them now. If they don't make this work in some kind of rock star famous capacity, like I put it on a plate for them. I gave it to them. What more do they want?
Well, you never know. Like, I mean, I think kids were going to be their own person, be their own people. Like my kid doesn't really like sailboats too much. He's more into tech than sports. Like you never know.
Never know. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've got three girls, all three
Oh
completely
wow.
different. So, yeah, you're absolutely right there. I thought I would have three clones of me, and in fact, actual fact, I think I've probably got one clone of me. She's a bit crazy, and the other two are
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. That's the way it
Yeah.
goes.
So, I mean, I know that we've already spoken about some incredible things. I mean, like intimate concerts with Elton John and all sorts of things like that. But what's been your highlight so far? Like, what has been an out of the world experience that you are like, that is the one in a million, once in a lifetime situation I'm in, and I'm going to enjoy it?
I think Antarctica is always at the top of the list because it's
Yeah.
so special and so rare that people get to go. And
Yeah.
I was on a yacht. It wasn't on a big cruise ship. It was on a yacht with 12 people.
Wow.
Yeah, the couple of things about Antarctica. One, the air. The air tasted different. It tasted cleaner. It's
Oh,
something
really?
about the air in Antarctica that just, I can even imagine it now. Just, that's kind of like the magic of travel where no matter how many pictures you see of Antarctica, only going there and breathing the air can you really sort of experience that. And then the other thing, the most rock star thing I could ever imagine doing
Okay.
is having my Coke. I had Coca-Cola
Mhm.
with a 50,000-year-old chunk of ice in the Coke, right, from the glacier.
Oh,
And talk about like the best Coke in the world, like because that ice has air that's trapped from 50,000 years ago or however many years ago. You know what I mean? There's
yeah,
so
yeah.
many strata. When the Earth was different, when there was less pollution, when just all that sort of stuff. So like that sort of that's the kind of stuff about that sort of once in a lifetime kind of stuff that I really
Yeah.
always
That's
come
so
back to.
random as well. Do you know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
is random. I think that's the fun thing for me about because I mean I understand that I get to go on like a bucket list trip every 6 or 8 weeks, something like that.
Mhm.
And so I'm able to sort of have this pretty big file of amazing trips to sort of pull from,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they all kind of feed each other and they all kind of marinate each other. So I'm able to sort of, it's not so much about the beach in Fiji or whatever that is kind of standard. It's more granular than that.
Yeah, like really, really like once in a lifetime,
Yeah.
almost like obscure, random experiences that
Yep. Yep.
money probably wouldn't buy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the stuff. That's exactly right. I mean, money does buy it, but it doesn't buy it as well.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So, what does this year look like for you? What have you got planned? What are you aiming for? What goals have you got?
Well, I mean, I think it's just to keep sort of pushing on the track that I've been on. These last couple of years has been pretty great for me in that I've been able to sort of write a bunch of really cool stories in Forbes and all the
Yeah.
shipyard magazines and the luxury magazines, and I'm going to continue to do that until I die. Like, I'm never going to retire.
Oh,
Because I'll tell
really?
you, this is another thing that's really important for me to always remember is that if I was invited to go on these trips but
Mhm.
didn't have to write the stories, I wouldn't like it as much as I do. It
Oh,
sounds
really?
weird. And I mean, I think people who've been on these trips with people that, um, are wealthy enough to sort of go on these trips all the time, all around the world. I know for myself that I would feel unfulfilled and a little bit sad and a little bit, I don't know, just sort of vacant if I'm just going on all these trips and just having like wonderful experience after wonderful experience all the time without any real reason for it. And then for
Right.
me, not only am I lucky that I get the invite to go on the trip, but I get to write the story. And this is really the magic, is that I get to write the story and tell people about the amazingness of being behind the velvet rope to people
Yeah.
that might not ever get behind the velvet rope or might aspire to get behind the velvet rope or might need a little sort of pick me up because they're working in their cube somewhere and then they read the story about, oh, there's the world's a big place and there's lots of cool stuff to do and maybe somehow spark a little bit of inspiration in someone. That's the stuff that really gets me out of bed in the morning,
I love it.
to kind of share the love as opposed to just experience the lux, which is, it's weird, right? I mean, it's like highly lux, but there's kind of almost like a spiritual angle to it as well, sharing the magic of the world.
I absolutely love it. But it's interesting to say that you'll just never retire. So there's never a moment where you think, I'm just going to chill in front of my fire now. I'm just done.
Yeah, no, well, no, because I want to keep my brain active. I mean, I have some sick parents these days, and I see how important it is to sort of keep in the game because if
Yeah.
I don't want to end up not being in the game.
Yeah. And I worry sometimes because I think about, retiring and like what it would be like. And then I think if I'm going to accept the notion of retiring, I need to accept the fact that this is work. And if I accept it's work, I love it so much. I almost don't want to accept that I'm working. I almost want to think that I would be doing this anyway, even if I wasn't being paid for it.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what
hold
I
on to
mean?
that. That is the magic. That is the magic stuff.
Right. So, I mean, I don't even know whether to ask this question because I just don't know what craziness goes on or what you're gonna say. But it's the question we ask every single guest at the end of the podcast. What one quote, Bill, do you strive to live by that motivates you and inspires you every day?
I don't do this consciously, but this is like almost like a stream of consciousness. So this is the first thing that came up in my mind. So it's a poem and it's two words. Me, we. That's the whole poem.
That's it.
And that's it. Me, we. And it
Okay.
was delivered by Muhammad Ali at some Harvard commencement speech, back in the 70s. And it sounds kind of silly, right? Two words, me and we. But in a way, that kind of encapsulates everything that I'm trying to do. I mean, yes, I get to be out in front. I get to be a show off. I get to sort of have all these exciting experiences. I get to meet celebrities and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's the we part that really lights me up, where it's not, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for all those people that would love to sort of know what it's like to hang out with Michael Douglas or to sort of flirt with Paris Hilton or
Are you
to
trying to say
like,
you're taking it for the team? Is that what you're
I'm taking it for the team.
on behalf of
No, no,
everyone,
no,
you're
no, no.
flirt with
No,
Paris Hilton?
I don't
Thank
mean it's
you.
arduous. I mean, like, isn't this amazing? Like, check this out. I'm flirting with Paris Hilton, or I'm, just sort of broing down with Will I Am, or
You're
I'm
such a
in the
team player.
pits at the Formula One, races, or whatever. I'm, on these yachts that no one else gets to see. And isn't it amazing? And come along with me. Like, we're all in this together. Isn't this cool?
Oh, that's so beautifully simple, but beautifully crazy,
Yeah.
all in one. And I love it.
And thank you for not telling me that question, because I don't know if I would have come up with that answer if I had prepared. So,
Yeah.
but that is really the essence of it for me.
Bill, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I did tell you, I sent you the guest card. That's the only question I did tell you I was going to ask.
I'm sorry, I didn't read it.
No, I could tell the second I asked it that you hadn't.
No, I love it. I love not. I mean, I honestly think not being prepared to some degree. I mean, it doesn't mean be lazy, but just when you're answering questions or whatever, it's so much more authentic if it's a little bit of a surprise where you got the real me,
Yeah.
and not the trying to sort of fit a mold me. Not that I ever really do that, but
No, I was going to say, I can't imagine you
Yeah.
ever trying to do that anyway.
yeah, I did, but it didn't work.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think this is 100% the podcast that I've smiled the most in. You have really, you've put a smile on my face. Ever since I met you in Fort Lauderdale that time. You stuck in my head because you just made me smile at that crazy Heason tea party that got sprung upon us.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad. That means the world to me. Honest to God, it means the world to me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come on my podcast. Thank you for letting me record you, and I cannot wait to see you again soon.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you around the campfire.
Yeah, see you soon. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then it would be awesome if you could leave a rating or a review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can listen to us again. See you soon.